go a long way towards, I think, the public perception of exactly how good Tennessee football is. Because over the next 5 weeks, they're going to play the last three national champions, LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. Throw in a game against what is right now a ranked Kentucky team, and the perception of Tennessee is going to be shaped a little bit in the next 5 weeks, I believe. My question is whether it should be. Because when the league gets into whatever the next format it is, Tennessee is the hardest team to place. If you draw a line between the top half and the bottom half of the Southeastern Conference, and we're drawing it mostly with budgets, history a little bit, but mostly with budgets, you get a very clear top eight. Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, LSU, A&M, Florida, Oklahoma, Texas. These are the big money. These are the historicals. Try to stifle your laughter with A&M when I said historicals, okay? I'll get to them in a minute. But the bottom part, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Kentucky, South Carolina, Vandy, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Missouri's still in the conference. I forgot. You look at the records over the last 15 years. 15 years is a good sample size, right? And where would you put Tennessee with the other comparables in what is considered that bottom half? Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas, South Carolina, Kentucky. You guys probably don't remember when Tennessee was at its absolute zenith the way, we do. And when I mean, I'm not talking about just the former era. I'm talking about, back in, the 70s and 80s where they were really something. What's your perception, Mario Taylor, please, your perception as people that are younger than me of where Tennessee is?
I think Heupel deserves a lot of credit for what he's done the last couple of years relative to where they were when he took over, but I'm still not putting them ahead of Kentucky. They've been good for a pretty long time, pretty consistently. Tennessee's been better than Florida recently, and they finally put a dent in that series, which Florida dominated for the longest, but the Gators have at least had success this century. They've at least been to Atlanta in the last 15 years, so I can't put them ahead of those teams yet. They are doing good this season, but need to see a little bit more consistency. It's a good start for Heupel, but I don't know if he's really the guy to take them there just yet.
Taylor?
Yeah, and like you said, I'm probably showing my age here, but when I started watching football 20 years ago, I would put Tennessee somewhere between Arkansas and South Carolina in the conference, maybe yeah. Arkansas and Ole Miss slightly ahead of Tennessee, and then Tennessee a little bit ahead of South Carolina. I mean, I haven't seen them do – the last SEC championship that I saw them play was 2007 against LSU. I mean, I haven't seen them do
That's
anything.
The last one anyone watched them play.
There you go.
Because that was one. But there's a built-in thought about Tennessee because of the legacy of the program, okay? From 85 – when they won the Sugar Bowl, all right, all the way through that 2007 with Philip Fulmer, they were in the top 25 every year. They were in the top 15 most years, and they were in the top 10 about 30% of the time during all of those years. You had a national championship. You had multiple, back when New Year's Day Bowls meant something, you had those wins, and you had prominent players, top picks in the NFL draft, all that stuff. But that's been a while now. Since 2007, which is the sample size we're going to use, 15 years worth, the number of top 10 seasons, we're talking about, again, Kentucky, South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Ole Miss. Who has the most 10-win seasons in the last 15 years out of that group? It's South Carolina, who would never at this point be considered for top tier in the SEC status. Tennessee has the least. In the last 15 years, Tennessee has 0 10-win seasons. All those other schools I mentioned have at least one. So does A&M. A&M's kind of the add-on here. Top 25 seasons. Kentucky, South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Who has the most final top 25s in the last 15 seasons out of that group? Ole Miss. They've got 5. Tennessee has the fewest They have 2. Major bowl appearances. We're talking about former BCS bowls, and now we're to New Year's Six bowls are obviously playoffs, which none of these teams have been in. So we're talking about just New Year's Day. New Year's Six plus BCS bowls. Kentucky, South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Who's got the most? Ole Miss has got 5. That's the most. Tennessee, South Carolina, and Kentucky have 0. But if Tennessee were to win 2 of these 3 games against LSU, Alabama, and Georgia, it would put them they're in the top 10 right now. Whether they stay there, who knows? But it would put them in a position where the league could look at it and say, Tennessee's back. Tennessee is is closer to being what they were between 1985 and 2007 than 2007 and now. Look at what they did. They just beat LSU, or they just beat Georgia, or they just beat Alabama. They lose all 3, we can stop having this conversation, especially if you throw in a loss to Kentucky, which is an eminently losable game for Tennessee. But they could win more than this. Why do I care about all of this? Because if Tennessee loses all 3 of the games or 3 out of the 4 games and Kentucky's one of those losses, then it's really hard to make the argument. Why am I talking about this? Because next year, the new SEC realignment schedules are going to come out, and I need to know where they consider Tennessee. If you look at the numbers, we're going to take a sample size. The last 15 years, Tennessee is at the bottom of the conference. They're ahead of Missouri, who hasn't even been in the conference for all of those years, and Vanderbilt, who is sort of the mascot for the Southeastern Conference. They're not, they're not really a member of the Southeastern Conference in football. They're just, dressed up like one. But if Tennessee wins even 2 of these games, especially if 2 of them are against Georgia and Alabama, and as ridiculous as that sounds, Georgia and Alabama have shown at least some vulnerability. Tennessee may be considered one of those top teams. How could this affect LSU? Well, if you're talking about 3 permanent opponents, you're talking about 3 permanent opponents for Alabama, Auburn's going to be one for sure. Tennessee's going to be one for sure. If the league considers Tennessee a top-flight team, then LSU won't be on Alabama's schedule every year. They wouldn't dare do that to Alabama. They would never put them up there and make them play 3 top-tier teams. They put somebody else, somebody from the bottom half, if they consider Tennessee to be in the top half. By the way, Texas A&M is going to be considered in the top half of the league, whether you like it or not. But they've only got one 10-win season in the last 15 years. They do have 5 top 25s and 3 major bowl appearances, which dwarfs what Tennessee has done. But you watch what I'm telling you, okay? If Tennessee goes on this run here in the next 5 weeks, and they show out respectable, they pull a big upset against Alabama or Georgia, and you string that together with a win in a game that they are favored against LSU, and I don't know if they're going to win the game on Saturday. I think it's going to be a really good game. And they beat Kentucky. They win 3 out of those 4, solidify themselves in the top 10. Watch the league do this. Watch the league say, Tennessee's back on a 1-season sample size. Is Josh Heupel a good coach? What do you guys think of Heupel?
Like I said, so far, relative to what he took over, all the transfers they had coming into last season, he's doing a really good job.
What about what he did at Central Florida?
I don't know how much that's him or how much he kind of sustained what Frost did, because Frost kind of built that thing up. So I give him a wash on that, but he did a good job.
They were going down. They were declining. Watched him last night with a – I got to give Gus Malzahn a little bit of credit. He has actually improved John Rice Plumlee as a passer. Now, they should have been down in that game 2, maybe 3 scores with what happened in the first half, but SMU kept turning the ball over, and Central Florida dominated in the second half. But they should have been down way more than what they were at the break. I can argue that Central Florida, if I'm making a case for Heupel, it's that the bottom did not fall out on him at Central Florida. It was okay. I thought it was sliding, but it was okay. And now he's going to Tennessee, and they're having their best season in 15 years. Senior quarterback. Guy's really good. Is it Heupel or is it Hooker? Careful your wording here. I know what it sounds like. Is it Heupel or is it Hooker most responsible for Tennessee's record at this point?
I would say a little bit of both. I mean,
you can't say a little bit of both.
We were talking about it. Virginia Tech.
Get the fence post out of your butt. Is it more Heupel or is it more Hooker?
It's more Hooker. Heupel hasn't even established what he wants his program to be at this point. It's definitely more Hooker.
Fair.
Which is not saying Heupel can't be a good coach. I don't know if he is or not. All I know is that decisions for the next 15 to 25 years potentially when it comes to SEC alignment, maybe I shouldn't say it that way. It was just that way the last time. Maybe the SEC is only going to be at 16 teams for 2 seasons, and then they'll add, I don't know, Clemson and North Carolina. So maybe I shouldn't be overreacting to it as much. But the last time they did this, it affected schedules for 25 years. So pardon me if I'm just a little bit gun-shy that if Tennessee goes on some run here in the next month, that it's going to affect scheduling for the next quarter century. I ain't paranoid. Much. All right, John Hendricks, when we come back, we'll see what's going on with the Saints. Gordy, at the bottom of the hour, we'll talk about this game between LSU and Tennessee. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
If you're going out tailgating this weekend, gonna make a dish with rice in it, make sure it's supreme rice. You know, support our Louisiana farmers down in Southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. You're making something, maybe tailgating after the game. Since it's so early this week, you say, hey, you know what? Instead of fighting the traffic, we'll just go back to the tailgate spot, put the afternoon game on. We'll make a jambalaya. We'll make some kind of etouffee. We'll make a stew. We'll make some red beans and rice. Make it with supreme rice. Whether it's the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, or the jasmine, supreme rice has been delighting families since the 1930s. You can get it at all your AG food stores. Stop at Rouse's on your way into the game. We'll be doing post-game there this week instead of pregame, but anytime you're going in, stop at Rouse's and get supreme rice. For more information and great recipes, go to supremerice.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When I was a boy, I spent my days climbing trees, catching fish. Barefoot in the river I walked, listening to crickets, counting stars. This was home. After my stroke, I wondered if I'd make it back to the people and places I love. But I got the right doctors with Blue Cross coverage. Your card matters. Your home does too.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Order curbside pickup online or with Rouse's Market Shopping app and let Rouse's personal shopper shop for you. Curbside pickup is free and you pay the same price for groceries as in-store. Use code SAINTS20 and save $20 on orders of $100 or more. That's curbside convenience, shopper style.
Oh, yeah!
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
On Friday's OTB, kicking off Football Friday, getting ready for a couple of big-time midday matchups. Tennessee LSU, Saints Seahawks in the Dome on Sunday. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Saints and the Seagulls on Sunday. I'm going to use the terms must win around here in October, but you know what? Kind of feels like it a little bit. John Hendricks from Boot Crew Media is with us right now. John, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, sir?
Well, I'm doing fine. Let me not bury the lead here. Who's healthy down in New Orleans, and who do you expect to see in this game on Sunday?
Yeah, look, I think first and foremost, the best news is that Alvin Kamara looks like he's ready to go. Talked with us yesterday, so I feel really good about him and his chances of playing in this game. He says he's going to play, so look, straight from Alvin's mouth, that's the best news. As far as Michael Thomas, that sounds not likely. Doing some rehab right now. Dennis Allen didn't give us a time frame, so that doesn't sound too good. And then as far as Jameis Winston, look, he's getting healthy, and he's in the rehab process right now. So I think we probably see Andy Dalton again this Sunday. Thomas, I don't think we'll see. Kamara in, and Marcus May probably back, and Andres Pete back. So trending in the right direction, but still not 100%.
The school of thought that the Saints could easily have another win is kind of offset, in my opinion, by the fact they could easily have another loss. So right now, just based on Lutt's field goals, one that went in and one that went out at the end of games, and the one that went out would have only gotten them to overtime, so maybe I'm assuming a little bit too much. Are the Saints where they deserve to be right now at 1-3?
When you look at all the self-inflicted wounds, the penalties, turnovers, yeah, I think this team is where they should be, right? I could make the argument, say they could be at least 500, and there's some things that could happen. And they certainly believe they could be 4-0 right now, but, those self-inflicted wounds have been all that they've talked about is, killing drives because of costly penalties or turning the football over. This team is fumble more than they have in a long time. And so it's not a good sign, when you can't take care of the football and such. But look, I think this is probably where they should be, just because, they started so slow in the games against Tampa and against Carolina and stuff. Atlanta was, I don't want to say a fluke, but, a team really did what they had to do. And that was, you don't judge them, I guess, based off of the first game of the season or the first couple. But, now this is first quarter of the season is behind you. This is where they're kind of at. And good news is they're at home a good bit over the next month. And so they're really going to have to improve a lot of things to kind of crawl out of this hole that they've dug themselves into.
Because it's been so much of what they have done, the penalties and the turnovers, does that give them some sense of optimism that if we just fix us, there is enough talent here to be a lot better than what our record says we are?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what a lot of the players are looking at. Again, and Kamara was a guy that said yesterday, he's like, nobody's really beat us. We just keep beating ourselves. And I think there's some truth in that. Obviously you want to have better starts. You want to have a lot of different things go your way and such. But look, they've been in most of these games that they've played in. Tampa was one of those that they played great through 3.5+ quarters. They just couldn't figure it out offensively, and then finally that catches up to you. In Carolina, bad start and turnovers and such. I mean, that's just not the way to play football. But everybody believes that this team has got the talent to kind of produce here. Locker room hasn't been lost or anything like that. But let me tell you, they got to win Sunday. I don't want to say it's a must-win type situation, but man, winning fixes a lot of things here. And I don't think it'll fix everything, but it's a step in the right direction, because if they lose one more again in a Superdome where they really haven't been that good lately, then they're starting to put up the pressure cooker on, and some of these answers that we keep getting probably aren't going to work anymore.
From those you've talked to, is there a long-term concern with Jameis Winston, or is this something that they feel like just a little bit more rest will correct?
Yeah, I don't think it's a long-term issue. And everything that I understand from it, it's what was concerning to me is hearing Dennis Allen talk about the ankle still lingering from training camp. So I think for this, the back, it's only supposed to improve. So I don't know. I don't want to speak for Jameis, because obviously you talk to him and he can tell you where he's at and stuff. But, I think the ankle is a little bit troublesome, and the back is what it is. He's done what he can to make sure that he can play through that. And look, I don't think it's really affected much of his throws. I think the ankle, if anything, has hurt his ability to escape the pocket, navigate the pocket, and run in football. I mean, we saw that against Tampa, and so that's a little bit more concerning for me. So it's a guy that, just get healthy. Andy Dalton, I thought he did pretty decent last week, especially not having Michael Thomas or Alvin Kamara, and or Andres Pete, even for that fact that Pete's a little bit underrated. So, look, I think you go with Andy again, and you just let this thing ride out. And I think the Seahawks are a team that you can definitely beat, but, you're going to just have to play that complete game. And, it just hasn't really been one particular area that's been the point to blame at. There's a lot of it to go around, so they've really got to step it up a bit. But I don't think there's any long-term issues with James Winston.
Watching the game in London and the offensive success that the Vikings were having, do you chalk that up more to the Vikings have really good offensive personnel? They've got one of the top receivers in the game at the top of that list. That, hey, when you play somebody like that, you're going to give up some plays, or were there real technical breakdowns on Sunday for the Saints?
Yeah, well, here's what I was encouraged by. I think they did a good job of holding Dalvin Cook in check. They had 20-plus rushes, and he only had 87 yards. And, so I think the ground game was there for sure. But, passing-wise, there was a couple of things I like to see, more plays finished. I remember Peyton Turner had 2 really good rushes and had a chance to get Kirk Cousins, but he slips or he just doesn't finish the play. That type of stuff, it makes a difference. You got to make it count. Marshawn Lattimore didn't have a great game, but I think he's going to rebound and find. Justin Jefferson just kind of attributes how strong he is and such at it. The Vikings were doing everything they needed to do to get off to a good start. I think the big issues for me is the big plays, or the times where you're 3rd and goal from the 15 and you give up a touchdown, or 3rd and goal or 3rd and long and you give up a first down. Those are the ones that I feel like you got to make sure that don't happen, because, the defense has got so much pressure on it right now, and they're playing really well, for the most part. But, when you're having to rely on that, you can't have many room for errors. And when we do see those errors, it comes back to haunt the team in a good way or in a bad way. And, I said it last week when we were watching the game, it feels like a 9-point deficit is such a daunting task, whereas when you had 9 points down with Drew Brees, you knew that you could make that up just like that.
The Seahawks may be a little bit of a surprising 2-2. A lot of people, myself included, thought they might have one of the 2 or 3 worst records in the league at the end of the year, and they still might. They scored a ton of points on the Lions, who are the worst defense in the league. They beat the Broncos by a point in Week 1, who are the worst coach team in the league, and I'll die on that hill. They got thumped by the Niners, and they lost a toss-up game to the Falcons that was really competitive. Geno Smith has been really good through the first 4 weeks. So how do you see the matchup for New Orleans against Seattle?
Yeah, look, I think they can control the ground game a little bit. Rashad Penny was on the injury report in the first one for them with the shoulder injury. I expect him to play. and I think the Saints can do a good job isolating him. So it really comes down to making Geno Smith beat you. And look, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are as talented as they come. This team played each other last year, and Geno Smith was a different guy than he was today. And so I think he's been really good with making good decisions. His completion percentage is really good. And so I think that's the thing for the Saints is, you might see a lot of that short type of stuff that teams like to do against the Saints defense, that you don't want to hold on to the ball too long. You want to get it out quickly, and that's going to help them move and force the Saints to play a little bit different style defensively. But, I'm with you. The Broncos, their head coaching decisions are just terrible right now. The Lions defense, man, it's just hard to see just because I know Aaron Glenn and his capabilities, but they just don't really have the personnel, I feel like, to be an elite or top defense. So I don't think this is a 1,000-yard game that we're about to see between these two. I don't think the Seahawks are going to get anywhere close to a 500-yard game, but I expect this game to come down to some of those technicalities, and Geno Smith's going to have a good bit of pressure on him playing in a pretty hostile Superdome environment. And so, look, I think this is a real test for him, and Dennis Allen and the rest of the Saints players are really complimentary of him and his particular style of play. And I would say just don't sleep on him. But, I'm like you. I thought the Seahawks would be a lot worse than what their record has faced so far.
I got to tip my cap to Geno Smith, and I know the Detroit game kind of skews the numbers a little bit, but through 4 games, Geno, and I know quarterback rating isn't the only metric we're using here, but Geno Smith's the 3rd-rated quarterback in the league. He's right ahead of Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, and Josh Allen. Who had that? Who had that before the season? Not me, for sure. So you got to tip your cap to Geno Smith a little bit over the way he's played the first month.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, not to go off on the tangent, but I have a fantasy football dynasty league. I had Aaron Rodgers, and then I picked up Justin Herbert in the draft, and I picked up Geno Smith off of the free agency this year just because he was balling out. I mean, he's a guy that's, again, making some things happen. And, a lot of people thought, I guess, it would be Drew Lock. But, Geno Smith's been around the league for a long time. And sometimes you see that some of these players just need the perfect, ideal pairing. I mean, I remember when Luke McCown was lighting it up that game for all intents and purposes when he stepped in for the Saints. I mean, a lot of it has to do with system. A lot of it has to do with timing, maturation as a quarterback and such. But, again, if you would have told me he would have been in top stats, anywhere in the top stats, through 4 games, I probably would have laughed at you and told you probably check into some type of facility because I just don't see it.
John, I'll be honest with you. When I heard going into camp that the Seahawks were not going to make a move, that they were going to go this season with Geno Smith and Drew Lock, whichever one was going to win it, I thought, oh, okay, well, that's how you tank. They're trying to move up into next year's draft to get their quarterback of the future. But Geno's been fantastic. John Hendricks, Boot Crew Media, appreciate your time as always. We'll look forward to the game on Sunday.
Thanks. Appreciate you, man.
All right, we'll take a break. Gordy Rush, when we come back, we'll break down some LSU and Tennessee. It's Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
When I'm going to look for a vehicle, I'm going to do it at Acura and Infiniti of Baton Rouge. And, over the last several years, they've made so many improvements and additions to the Acura and Infiniti line. The 2023 model year Acura TXL, TLX, and the MDX, new Integra back now with new body style, new color combinations. The RDX was refreshed in 2022, the MDX in 2021. Listen, family owned and operated, which means you're going to get transparency in all your pricings at Acura and Infiniti pre-owned, and on the pre-owned lot, 167-point inspection to make sure you are squared away. So do what I've done, do what members of my family have done, and purchase your next vehicle at Acura and Infiniti of Baton Rouge.
Professional golfers John Peterson and J.J. Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com.
As a community bank, B1 Bank invests in relationships with the people and businesses we proudly represent. Our B1 bankers are here to help simplify the complicated, understand your needs, and make managing your finances easier. At B1 Bank, we offer an array of solutions to help simplify your transaction needs. B1 Bank, one highly personal banking experience. Visit us online at b1bank.com for more information.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's number.
Week 6 in the prep football season, and we get started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview presented by the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Catholic High and Liberty kick off at 7, immediately followed by the Lake Urgent Care, Lake After Hours, Louisiana Prep Scoreboard Show on YouTube, Your View, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Get your Hannycast. We'll drop some picks on you. Doing pretty well last couple of weeks. So have our picks version come out later on this afternoon. Gordy Rush joins us now. He's part of the Hannycast on Mondays. We do a little film review. Gordy, how you doing?
Hey, doing great, Charlie.
So as you look at Tennessee, when we talk about tempo offenses, they come in all kind of shapes and sizes. So what, besides the fact they've got a really good quarterback, what makes the tempo offense for Tennessee click? What are the best attributes? What kind of offense are we talking about here?
Well, Heupel goes fast. You know, Brian Kelly said it's the fastest offense in college football, and got a chance to watch it firsthand when LSU played Central Florida in the Fiesta Bowl. Was that 2018 or the 2019 Fiesta Bowl? So they go really, really fast. I think what makes it click is that Hooker is so poised. I mean, he's a veteran quarterback. He stands tall in the pocket. He runs the RPO game. He's really sharp with that. And then he's not Jane Daniels fast, but he's certainly a dual threat guy and explosive in the run game. And then you surround him with Small and Wright, who are outstanding running backs. They've got McCoy from USC in the slot. They've got plenty of talent. So this is an explosive offense. Naturally, they're ranked first in college football.
You know, when I always talk about the spread offenses, the tempo offenses, it's always a running game that tends to differentiate from the guys that just go fast and don't possess the ball, the guys that go fast and they have a running game to go along with it because they tend to turn the ball over less. So when you look at Jalen Wright, top 10 rusher in the league, just under 5 yards a carry. What do you see from the Tennessee run game out of this?
Well, you got Small, I think, a little bit bigger and a little bit more explosive between the tackles. Wright is a little bit quicker. They complement each other. And then, I've talked about Hooker. I mean, all three of them had double-figure carries in that win against Florida. And I think that what I love about the no huddle in that tempo is you are really dictating to the defense what they're going to do. And I think that's going to be the challenge that Coach House is going to have is that you're going to have to move pretty quick. So it's going to be hard to substitute. You're going to have to get lined up. And as Brian Kelly has said, get your cleats in the ground and react and play football. And some of the things that has made LSU particularly dangerous, I think, defensively where they've excelled, they've been able to show teams a lot of looks. And that's going to be limited against Tennessee in this game.
Hendon Hooker is an accomplished runner, but he doesn't run when he doesn't have to. The first 3 games of the season, he ran very little. Now, 2 of those were blowouts, and he didn't run against Pittsburgh until there were some key moments in the fourth quarter where he needed to pick them up. But against Florida, he ran for 112 yards. So he's certainly accomplished when he needs to be. With all that said, how comfortable are you playing man coverage against this group?
Well, they got athletes. They can beat you. I mean, McCoy's a big body, and, kind of the way that Jack Besh operates a little bit in the slot. He's physical and can get separation there, and he's experienced. Look, I don't think you can – they're too good, and they got too much experience to just play one thing. You're going to have to play both and show a little bit, and you're going to have to get after him some. You're going to have to get after him some. But I don't think you can lock up and play man the whole game on him.
The communications problems that LSU has had defensively sometimes early in games have disappeared later in the games. They did it against Mississippi State. They did it against Florida State. And they did it again in the game against Auburn. So when you see the adjustments that they're making, what are they basing this on? What are they seeing early, and how are they adjusting?
Well, look, I think the second one on that corner, Joe Fouché was out playing his first game of the year out there on the hash along with Greg Brooks, and maybe there was some newness. And I'm not sure. I'm not in that meeting room, so I don't know what call was busted. And then Sage Ryan, simply got beat on a scramble drill. Receiver came up, he bit on the receiver. The receiver got behind him and got some separation. I feel like they've cleaned a lot of that up when they moved Greg Brooks back on the hash and kicked Jay Ward down, who's played the nickel, and he's been exceptional at the nickel position, just getting back healthy last week. I think the question is, do they start with Fouché, or is it going to be Bernard Converse, who finished the game against Auburn?
The flip sides, buzz all week has been, will the passing game open things up and throw the ball down the field? Kelly was pretty pointed on Monday. The players have talked about it a little bit. There was a meeting and all that. So what do you expect to see different when they open up on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's $1 million question, and we're not going to know till Saturday. I think it starts with Jaden just trusting the play that's called. And what's hard to know, and again, not being in the meeting rooms, is what is the call. And then, obviously he's flushing, or he's pulling the ball down prematurely and not sticking with the play or the progression. We talked about on the handicaps, there was no way that Mason Taylor was targeted 11 times in the game plan. Nobody left Baton Rouge on Thursday and said, hey, this is Mason Taylor's game, not with all the weapons that you have surrounding him. And so there's some breakdown there. I think some of it is there's been early game anxiety. I think he's had happy feet in the first quarter of Florida State, Mississippi State, and a little bit against Auburn. And I think just trusting what the play's called, go through the progression, plant your feet, and throw the football. And you're a tremendous athlete. Daniels is obviously a tremendous athlete. The problem is now that you're getting in the SEC play in the next 5 football games, I mean, you're not playing Oregon and you're not playing Cal and Stanford where you can do some of the stuff that you did at Arizona State. You've got guys that are 6'6", 300, and just as fast as you are, and they're going to hurt you. And that's been the concern all along. So, number one, is Daniels going to execute the play as called, stand in there and deliver the football and throw the football when it's supposed to come out? Or the wild card, does Coach Kelly look at Garrett Nussmeier? And Nussmeier is going to throw the football. It's the opposite. You worry about the gunslinger mentality a little bit with that. But his point in the Monday press conference was spot on. You're not going to win many SEC games throwing for 87 yards.
it's funny because most quarterbacks worry about getting pulled if they take too many chances and turn the ball over. Jaden Daniels is actually in a point right now where if he doesn't take some chances and throw the ball down the field, even if it results in no turnovers, he's in more danger of being pulled if he doesn't do that than if he does.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you can't. You're lucky to get out of Auburn, who arguably isn't the worst, is one of the worst teams in the SEC. They played way above their head, but statistically, you were beaten by 150, 200 yards in terms of yardage gain. You can't live like that. So he's going to have to throw the football some, and he's capable of doing so. I've seen the scrimmages. For whatever reason in the game, it's not translating right now.
Well, you remember about the Florida game last year as far as the atmosphere? That was a morning start. It was a game that LSU certainly didn't expect. I didn't expect them to play the way that they did, and it turned up being a big win for LSU. So with an 11 o'clock start, what do you remember that Florida start and the atmosphere there?
Yeah, it picked up as the game went on. Of course, it was an offensive shootout, which you expect this one to be a little bit of that. I mean, what I remember is that I think that was a game LSU found the running game, and it was Mashburn and the traps, and Ty Davis-Price ran wild in that game. And on the flip side, Emory Jones got benched, and Richardson came in, and he was unstoppable. It was a heck of a football game, and it was definitely the unexpected. But I think because the nature of the game was so exciting, the crowd was good in that one.
Yeah, the record actually has been very good in the morning games. It's just that nobody likes them, but they've actually played really well in these games.
Yeah, look, you got to get up. I mean, it's LSU, Tennessee. I mean, this is a well-coached football team that I think is a passing game or some execution away from having a really good season here. They're not going to win the SEC, but I think Coach Kelly's done a heck of a job with the adjustments defensively. They're playing good football, especially considering it's a new coordinator and a hodgepodge of people there. And I've been impressed with the way they've been able to run the football in the second half of some of these games with two true freshman tackles and really running back by committee. I think they averaged 6 yards a carry in the second half of the Auburn football game. And they had 5 yards passing total. So if they could get a passing game to go along with it, it could make for some interesting football in this 5-game stretch. You're just not going to, the way that Tennessee scores and the way that Florida scores, you're going to have to score some points to win. You're not going to pull off a game like you did against Auburn.
All right, Gordy, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you in pregame.
Okay, buddy. Thanks.
And we'll take a break. When we come back, I'll take your questions out of the chat. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
This weekend at Big Mike's, if you're going out for high school football, remember they're open late on Friday nights. You can bring the family in, get something to eat after the games. Tonight, it's karaoke. Tomorrow night, live music from the Honky Tonk Playboys. And Saturday, for the games, DJ in-house all day. Great atmosphere to watch the games. We had a great time watching the Saints and the Vikings right up till the very end where they lost. But the atmosphere was terrific. Coming up at the end of the month, on October the 25th, they're doing an event in the community called Trunk or Treat. It means that they're going to take a tailgate party and turn it into trick-or-treating. Going to have live music, candy for the kids, prizes, family-friendly, and a free event that's at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night, October the 25th. Big Mike's on Aspen Boulevard, part of the very fabric in Denham Springs. At Big Mike's, kind of a big deal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
They said I was small, weak, said my heart wasn't strong enough. But I showed them what heart looked like. Again and again and again. Mom got me the right care, the right doctors with Blue Cross coverage. Don't let people tell you who you are. Show them. The right card, the right care.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Join us for a Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill, the latest on the Saints injury report from Luke Johnson, and we take a deep, deep look at the Tennessee Vols. Hunt and Hill, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Congratulations to Adam Starnes of Denham Springs. Adam is our Week 5 winner in the 2022 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest, and he wins a $50 Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 6 by 5 p.m. today. Play the 2022 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Take some questions out of the YouTube chat. This is from earlier in the hour. Neil says Tennessee doesn't have the recruiting base for long-term success, and while that's a correct statement. You can't the way you can in Texas, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Ohio, just encircle a state and have that be good enough to win enough football games to where that fan base would be satisfied. When Tennessee was at their best, they were recruiting in places where there were very prominent programs not recruiting as well as they could have. They were getting players out of Ohio when John Cooper was there. Fulmer was going in there to get players. He was going into North Carolina to get players after Mack Brown left North Carolina. He was going into, but more than that, he was going into Georgia. When they were at their heyday, they were getting players out of Atlanta when Ray Goff and Jim Donnan were coaching at Georgia, and Fulmer was just recruiting rings around those guys. I mean, they got players like Jamal Lewis. They got players like Cozy Coleman out of there. And Louisiana. Everybody knows Peyton Manning, but they were also getting guys like Jarvis Rito and Raynoch Thompson. They got players from, and at that time it was Curly Hallman and Jerry DiNardo, and Fulmer was coming in here and getting players out of this state. He was getting players out of Alabama. T. Martin, who was the quarterback on the national championship team, was out of Mobile. So I agree with Nils in that they can't just encircle a state of Tennessee and return to that kind of prominence. It has to be somewhere else. Now, it's harder. It's harder for Tennessee to come into Georgia now and get players. A lot harder to go into Alabama and get players. Way harder to go into Ohio and Louisiana and get players. So where will Heupel's base be? Will it be more of a Midwestern base? Will he try to get, spend a lot of time in Florida or Texas? They even got some players out of California during Fulmer's time. So those players, those stacked rosters for Tennessee came from a lot of different places. Ask Hanny, speaking of quarterbacks from Mobile, how many has that city put out? I don't have a list of quarterbacks from Mobile, but there's been a few. T. Martin and Jamarcus Russell, I guess, is considered, a Mobile kid. So a few, I would tell you, because there's been a lot of discussion in the chat about the quarterbacks, and as it always happens with a quarterback, they're not into a quarterback controversy yet. I don't even know if they're into a battle yet, but they're certainly into a portion at LSU where they're considering options. My take on this is if Daniels is healthy enough to start on Saturday, he starts on Saturday, which we think that he is. And if I'm Mike Denbrock and I'm Brian Kelly, he's got 3 series. He's got 3 series, and it's got to look like it's moving in the right direction. It's got to have some throws down the field. It's got to have a little zip to it. It cannot be stagnant. If after 3 drives it doesn't look like it's moving in the right direction, if they haven't moved the football, then I'm probably going to make a move. Thing is, if you make a move, are you married to that? What if the next 3 series aren't good? Do you go back to that? It's harder to make the move after that. I can tell you the first move. The first move is if you're not moving early, make a quarterback change. It's what happens if that doesn't work. I think that's why that's why the reluctance usually to make a move. Ask Hanny, do I like the Tennessee Grays? Not at all. Not at all. Tennessee's orange. I mean, if you don't know anything else about the University of Tennessee, they're orange. Okay, why would you? That it's a charcoal, not even as deep as a charcoal gray. No, those are ugly uniforms. I'm sorry, I'm not going uniform police like everybody else, but no, I don't like the Tennessee Grays. I didn't like when you go completely off your cut. I didn't like when LSU had the black jerseys. It's like LSU's purple and gold. Okay, Tennessee's orange. That's. I almost gave Alabama a compliment. No, I'm not going to do that. No, Alabama doesn't change the doggone uniforms. You don't see Alabama come out and play in gray. You don't see Auburn come out and play in gray. That I can remember anyway. No. Remember when Georgia came out in the all blacks? It was going to be the big deal. They got crushed. They didn't get crushed because of uniforms, but Georgia's red. Tennessee's orange. LSU's purple and gold. No, I don't like the grays at all. Hunt and Hill are next. Thanks to everybody for participating. For Mario and Taylor, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. It's been Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
And again, if you're tailgating this weekend, make your meal with Supreme Rice. Make a big jambalaya, making a big pot of red beans, making a big pot of crawfish etouffee. Make it with Supreme Rice and support our Louisiana farmers down in Southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. For our Supreme Rice, it's so easy to get. All your AG food stores, all your Rouses, all your Walmarts, all your Costco's. You're going to save. You're going to stretch your food dollar. You're going to enjoy delicious Supreme Rice. Whether it's the long grain, the medium grain, the brown, or the jasmine, make it Supreme Rice at your next meal. More information and for great recipes, some unique stuff, go to the website at supremerice.com.